Hi, everybody. Vasu Vadaparty here for the VPartySports Podcast for this Friday afternoon. Welcoming you to the NBA preview, NFL weekend, big NFL weekend, Week 18. Had some NBA games last night. We got a full schedule tonight. NCAA basketball gets full into swing this weekend on Saturday with a bunch of college games. We're starting to break it down by conference. We'll do that in a little bit as well, too. And then, of course, NHL, NCAA basketball, NBA all through the weekend. Lots of things going on. Don't forget, we'll be here on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. Pacific time. Full NFL preview, all the wildcard possibilities, the number one seed in question. The owners have voted. We'll give you that in a little bit as well, too. The BCS Championship, Georgia now a 12.5-point favorite over Texas Christian University in Los Angeles Monday night. And, of course, Daily Post at 6 Eastern weekdays, 11 a.m. on the weekends before the games start this weekend. 2 football games Saturday, a full NFL slate on Sunday, the wild cards and the number one seeds, playoff positioning, all at stake. But we want to start off with the good news out of Cincinnati is the Damar Hamlin update. Came off the ventilator Friday, 100% breathing on his own, communicated orally with doctors and medical professionals. He also talked with his family and Zoomed with his teammates back in Buffalo to a lit Buffalo Bills meeting room. Once they saw him on the Zoom screen, he was talking to him, told him he loved them, asked who won the game again from Monday night. Didn't know that the game got canceled, didn't know that this incident caused the uproar that it did amongst all the conspiracy theorists. But it is great news to see that he is off the ventilator, 100% breathing on his own. The doctors are happy. The medical professionals are happy. Talked with the family, talked with his family in Cincinnati, the trainers there that stayed back from, did not go back to Buffalo with them. He Zoomed with his teammates during their meetings. Once they found out he was better, now they can focus on football. I'm sure that's what he wants them to do. Give credit to Damar Hamlin's father, Mario. I believe Mario is his name. He's the one who talked to the team and said that his son would want you to continue on the mission that they had, which was going to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. You could clearly see the emotion was wrapped up with the Buffalo Bills during the week. They didn't even practice until Thursday, and that's late for an NFL team considering they played Monday. That they didn't even have a Wednesday or Tuesday's their day off. They didn't have a Wednesday for film study. They didn't get out there on the field, loosen up the joints and everything. Everybody was worried about Damar Hamlin as it goes. So that's the update as it's been told both publicly and internally within the Buffalo Bills. That stadium's going to be lit on Sunday. We'll get to the playoff previews in a second. Would not want to be the New England Patriots because I got a feeling that this whole country and this whole story has taken a life of its own, that everybody's going to be on the Buffalo Bills this weekend, whether it's a fan, a non-football fan, a Buffalo Bills fan, Bills Mafia, one of the best ever. By the way, let's give an update. I don't think I mentioned it all week. I don't know the name of the charity that he started when he was at the University of Pittsburgh, but his goal was to raise $2,500 when he was a senior in college 2 years ago. He's in his second year now with Buffalo. With all the help and all the notoriety that has come from what his charity was and what kind of guy he was, it's been raised to about $8.8 million, I heard the other day. So $8.8 million for Damar Hamlin's charity, all because of what happened Monday night. Good for people to be able to do that. If you can do something to help others, this is a good way to show support since you can't be there to support him directly. But what a great cause. What great news to wake up to this morning on the West Coast. I'm sure they all knew about it early in the morning, East Coast time in Buffalo. So Damar Hamlin off the ventilator, 100% breathing on his own, communicating, voice activated, talking with doctors and the medical professionals, talked with the family and Zoomed with teammates back in Buffalo. I also want to give a shout out to the assistant trainer, and I don't have his name. I'm going to see if I can find his name, but the assistant trainer for the Buffalo Bills, he's the one that performed CPR right away in that field in the Cincinnati Medical Center. Their doctors have credited that CPR moment as saving his life to the point where we are at right now, too. So the fact that the CPR helped save his life, it just made me curious, and I posted it on social media. I'm just curious. We all learned it when we were kids, and if you're coaches and if you're in a profession where you're teaching or whatever the scenario is, you have to learn CPR and you have to get certified every couple of years. I'm just curious out in the audience, how many people know CPR, that they could go and help somebody if in need. Obviously, this is a very rare situation. These are professional athletes. Those situations don't come up very often, but in everyday life, these situations can come up. And I'm just curious on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, what knowledge of CPR you have. Could you administer it right now? If you had to, it'd be interesting to hear what the responses are for this question. I know CPR. I haven't practiced it in a long time. I'm not sure that I would be capable of doing it, but it certainly has enticed me to look it up as well too. So just want to make sure that I throw that out there for that. I want to see a tweet at VPartySports, on Instagram at VPartySports, Facebook and YouTube. You can find me at Vasi Vadaparty. Also, if you're interested in sponsorships, as we said, Saturday and Sunday, the Daily Post at 6 p.m. Eastern. Sponsorship inquiries, please contact me directly. But great news on Damar Hamlin and the update that he's had. So VPartySports Podcast here. I'm Vasi Vadaparty. Welcome in on this Friday. Big NFL weekend starting tomorrow with 2 games. We'll get to that down the road. But let's start with the NBA. 4 games in the books last night. We'll get the ticker going here. You'll see the NBA college lines tonight, also the hockey lines as well too. But let's get to the NBA. Last night, the Memphis Grizzlies, they won the night before. They beat up on the Hornets, 123-115. They had a big lead on Orlando. Orlando made a comeback to nearly cover the 6.5-point spread that they were favored by. The over went over. Here's the funny thing. It was one of my plays yesterday, was Grizzlies Magic over 230. They were only at 42 points after the first period. And to think that they got to 238 points and got the over, that's unbelievable to me. 32 for John Morant. What else is new? Jaren Jackson Jr., if you haven't seen him play, he's the real deal. 31 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. The new term in the NBA is stretch 4. He can shoot from the outside. Defensively, he leads the NBA in block shots, and he got double-digit rebounds. So double-double for JJJ Jr. Last night, the Memphis Grizzlies, 123-115. They are tied with the Denver Nuggets at 23-15 in the standings for the number 1 spot in the West. Denver has the tiebreaker. They beat Memphis early this year. In fact, they beat Memphis pretty badly on a Tuesday night a couple of weeks ago. They are really good against the East right now, and the Grizzlies, I think, are 13-3 from what I read against the East, and they're averaging 116 points a game. They've won 8 out of the last 10. They've won 6 out of the last 10. They've won 5 in a row. So they had a little slump there, and then now they've won 5 in a row to the point of where they're 6-4 in their last 10. Paolo Banchero, one of the Rookie of the Year candidates, he had 30 for the Magic, who made that big comeback for Orlando. But 123-115, the final score. Boston gave up 150 points to Oklahoma City 2 nights ago. They come back to play Dallas. This was the matchup of MVP conversation between Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic was the MVP this week based on the triple-double that he had last week of 60 points, 21 rebounds, 11 assists or 10 assists, I forget, but it was a triple-double, and it was made noteworthy. 124-95. Boston comes in and just tears up Dallas. 3-point favorite going into the game. The over-under was 232, so that stayed under 219. Boston held Dallas to 38% shooting. They held Dallas to 95 points, 7 of 32 from threes, and they led Doncic. Let me get this right here. These auto spells are killing me here. Doncic. There you go. How about that? Doncic, 23 points on 22 shots for the Dallas Mavericks, but they were never in it. They were down 9 after 1, down 18 at the half, down 24 after 3, and 29 the final score. So they didn't get out. They got outscored in every quarter. In the second half, they were outscored 60-49 in the second half. Jason Tatum, 28 points. He had 29 points, 14 rebounds for the now MVP candidate of the Boston Celtics. The Utah Jazz, 131-114 over Houston in Houston. Lauri Markkanen, if you haven't heard of Lauri Markkanen, I watched him play at Arizona. He was kind of behind the 8 ball at Cleveland a little bit. This big trade that Markkanen for Donovan Mitchell has worked out for both teams. Lauri Markkanen had 49 points last night at Houston. It was a close game for a while. Utah 7-point favorite, but they end up winning by 17, marking in 49 points, 8 rebounds. Jalen Green had 30 for the Houston Rockets. Utah now 20-21. They are still in the playoff picture. They're in the 10th seed right now. By the way, Boston, let's go back to Boston for a second. Boston 27-12. They're a game better than Milwaukee in the loss column. They're in first, and Milwaukee 25-13 after their win over Toronto. They're tied with Brooklyn, but they have the edge on Brooklyn for second and third in the Eastern Conference. But anyway, Boston Celtics 27-12, number 1 seed. Utah Jazz 20-21 in the 10th spot. Lauri Markkanen 49 points. Look for him to do big things. That can only lead to confidence. The Utah Jazz defense, I know they gave up 114 points, but they held Houston to 41%, 38% on threes, so a little too much on the threes there. And Jalen Green, the outstanding second-year player for Houston, had 30 points as well. Finally, the last game of the night, the Denver Nuggets. We talked about them. They're tied for first in the West, but they have the tiebreaker edge on Memphis, 25-13. They win again, 15-3 at home. They beat up on the LA Clippers. Can't figure out which Clippers team is going to show up. 122-91. They had a 66-32 lead at the half. Balanced scoring all the way around. Nothing really outstanding in terms of the box score itself for individuals. You had Gordon with 13, Michael Porter Jr. with 10, Jokic had 12, Jamal Murray 18, 16 for Highland off the bench, 15 for Konkar, 13 for Naji off the bench for the Nuggets. 122. They held the Clippers to 38%, 37% shooting. 5 of 37 on three-pointers for the Clippers. That's 14%. And they held them to 91 points, 41 rebounds. Denver out-rebounded them 57-41. In that scenario, they had the lead the whole way through. It was early, and it was often 32-15, 34-17. That's where they're at. Then the Clippers scored a little bit third and fourth quarter, but it was over by halftime. You're talking about a 34-point lead at the half, 66-32 at the half for the Denver Nuggets, who remain in the 1 seed. They've got games coming up today. They've got a big game against Cleveland, as you see the ticker go underneath there. The last one, as we said, that was the last one. Denver beats the Clippers 122-91. All right, let's hit the NBA lines here real quick before we take a break and get to the football. Indiana 1.5 versus Portland. Right now, Indiana playing well at home. That's a good play. Portland 237 the total. We know Portland can score. They have a tough time on the road. Lately, they lost to Minnesota a couple of nights ago. Toronto 3.5. Boy, they almost came back and stunned Milwaukee after being down by 21 with under 4 minutes to go. They've got the Knicks right now. The Knicks are playing okay basketball, 5-5 in their last 10, but they won 3 in a row. They got 38 from Jalen Brunson the other night as well, too. 3.5 for Toronto, 218 the total. Philadelphia, make sure you check this. Joel Embiid did not play the last game against Indiana. They won in overtime. They did not cover the 5 points. They won by 3 versus the Pacers. Philadelphia 231 versus the Bulls. We know the Bulls can score. The Bulls just upended the Brooklyn Nets and their 12-game winning streak. So Chicago going on the road to Philadelphia here. Milwaukee, a 10-point favorite versus Charlotte, 232. We know Milwaukee's scenario. They nearly blew that lead on Wednesday night, but they're at home. When they're at home, they're 16-4 at home. And Charlotte, last in the conference, 5-15 on the road. So very interesting to see how that's going to be a 10-point favorite. They still don't have Middleton. George Hill might be out, but Giannis is there. Brook Lopez is there. They've got guys that can put scores up. They did not show it on Wednesday night. Charlotte can score. So if Milwaukee can put their defense together, then they can hold Charlotte down. I think Milwaukee might have a shot at this game. San Antonio, 1-point favorite versus Detroit. Did you see the Pistons game the other night in San Francisco? Sadiq Bey, a game-winning 3 after Klay Thompson tied it up at 119. Bey falling backwards beyond the three-point line, well beyond the three-point line. Goes back to the days of the Villanova days where he could light it up at Villanova. Three-pointer at the buzzer, got the shot off, went in as the buzzer sounded. 122-119, Detroit over Golden State. They're a 1-point underdog, 236 the total. They had the over the other night with Golden State. I had the over the other night with Golden State. I think they can score. San Antonio scores a lot of points. They do not do well on defense. They are 111 a game. They give up 120.9, so a 9.2 differential. They're on a 3-game losing streak as well, but yet they're a 1-point favorite. Meanwhile, the Pistons, they score 111. They give up 118. They won their last game in 3. They're 3 out of their last 10 as well, too. Oklahoma City, they're a favorite against Washington Wizards, 1.5-point favorite, 231.5. I've told you for weeks how good they are as an underdog. They put up 150 the other night. Bradley Beal is going to be out for about 3 more weeks. He's got some leg issues going on, so he's not in that game. But 231.5. Both teams can score. Oklahoma City, we saw what they did to the Boston Celtics. Brooklyn Nets coming off the loss to the Bulls, 4.5-point favorite at New Orleans. The Pelicans right there in the standings. They are right behind Denver and Memphis. They're 24-14, a game back. They are 17-4 at home. Brooklyn, a 4.5-point favorite on the road. I'm not so sure that that's a good play right there, but we'll see. We'll see how this pans out. No Zion Williamson. He's not going to play tonight, but they've got C.J. McCollum, who put up 27 points the other night in a victory. Denver coming off that big win against the Clippers last night. They get the Cleveland Cavaliers and Donovan Mitchell, a former foe. When Utah and Denver played, they were always good games, and Mitchell always lit it up. He and Jamal Murray always lit it up. You go back to that bubble, the bubble year when Murray and Mitchell were going at it. Mitchell had 50 and Murray had 48. Denver ended up winning that series over Utah. But this is Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are coming in at 25-13. Cavaliers 25-14, a 6-point favorite for Denver, 223 the total. Minnesota 3-point favorite versus the Clippers. We just saw what happened with the Clippers in Denver last night. They got blown out. I don't know if they're going to have their guys available. Kawhi Leonard day-to-day, Batum day-to-day, John Wall day-to-day, Naz Reid, Bryn Forbes day-to-day as well, too. Let's check that Sixers game. While I'm looking at injury reports, I just want to see that Sixers game, see what the story is with Embiid. He's out. Joel Embiid out tonight, so that's why it's a 4-point favorite. But Minnesota, 3. They just beat Portland, 226 the total. Minnesota, 18-21, just out of the top 10. Clippers are right there at 6. A 3-point favorite, 226 the total. The Miami Heat, who lost to the Lakers Wednesday night, now they take their act to Phoenix. They beat the Clippers, lost to the Lakers, and now they're at Phoenix. Both teams at 20-19. Miami playing better in the last few weeks. Bam Adebayo, leading scorer for Miami. He's been outstanding, 54% from the field. Devin Booker on the injured list. He leads Phoenix in scoring as well, too. Both teams 20-19. Different scenarios, as Phoenix is 8th in the West. They are behind Portland and the Clippers, who are in 6th. And then the Miami Heat, they're in 8th. They're a game back of the Indiana Pacers, who are playing really well. Miami right now 6-4 in their last 10, and Phoenix 4-6 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game losing streak. They had a big lead against Cleveland 2 nights ago, could not hold it up, ended up losing at the buzzer 90-88 to Cleveland. And then finally, the Atlanta Hawks, who came off a comeback win against Sacramento Wednesday night. They are visiting the Los Angeles Lakers. No LeBron James from Wednesday night. Let's see if we can find the injury reports right here real quick. 17-21 for the Lakers, 18-20 for the Hawks. Everybody thought the Hawks were going to be one of the up and rising teams after last year. So it says here, Damian Jones, Russell Westbrook are day-to-day. Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, and Troy Brown Jr. are out. So it looks like LeBron will play tonight versus the Hawks. Clint Capella out for Atlanta. So that's what you have in the NBA going on tonight. College basketball, just a few things to talk about in college basketball. We'll hit the Saturday schedule tomorrow morning, but I'll give you a little preview. Toledo, Western Michigan in the MAC, Ball State versus Akron. Yale, Dartmouth, Princeton, Columbia, Brown, Harvard, and Cornell, Pennsylvania, all in the Ivy League. The Ivy League plays every Friday and every Saturday. Stanford, 9-point favorite at Cal. They don't have 2 games this weekend, so the Bay Area rivalry of Stanford at Cal. Cal's been awful this year. A 9-point underdog at home, the total 123.5 out of the Pac-12. So maybe we have some college games, maybe we don't. In the NHL, Alex Ovechkin continues his goal-scoring run. They're 160 favorite versus Nashville, 6.5 there. Florida, 145 on the road at Detroit. Tampa Bay and Winnipeg, that's going to be a really good game tonight. Tampa Bay, a 115 favorite, 6 the total there. My Blackhawks, 115 against the Coyotes. Coyotes had a lead against the Flyers last night, gave up 4 straight goals. and lost that game 6-3, 6-2, I believe was the score. 6 the total here for the Blackhawks and Coyotes. Calgary 220 versus the Islanders, 5.5 at home. Calgary 18, 14, and 7. The Islanders having a pretty good year, 22, 16, and 2 for the New York Islanders. And then the San Jose Sharks, minus 145 at Anaheim tonight. Sharks are 12 and 20. Ducks are 11 and 24, both struggling now in the National Hockey League. Home teams are favored by minus 135, and the Grand Salami is 37.5. For those of you who don't know what the Grand Salami is the total number of goals picked, total number of goals in every game in hockey. So they call it pepperoni slam or something, the Grand Pepperoni in the NBA, and they also have something in Major League Baseball as well too. So 37.5. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games tonight. So that's about right. So home teams, if you like the home teams, the net difference in goals, they're minus 135. All you got to do is win that. If you like the home teams, if you like the away teams, you'll get them at plus 115. Grand Salami, 37.5. All right, when we come back, we'll break down the NFL a little bit. We'll give you some news that came out about how the tiebreaker, how the canceled game Monday night is going to handle the playoff scenario in the AFC. Talk about the 1 seeds. We'll talk about the 7 seeds in the playoffs. Give you a full preview of each and every game Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday for the 2 games, and then Sunday as well. We'll give you a full preview of them as well. But we're going to slightly gloss over it, the NFL, as we get to it. And I'll give you one best bet, and then don't forget to check out Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for the best bet segment, 6 Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific, out here on the West Coast. Hope you're doing well on this Friday. Anticipating a good weekend. Hopefully where you live, the weather's not too bad. It's lighting it up. Lots of sports this weekend. The NFL, big conference weekend. In college basketball, of course, the NBA, NHL are always prevalent as well. I'm Vasi VParty. This is a VPartySports Podcast. We will see you in 30 seconds with a little NFL breakdown. Welcome back to the VPartySports Podcast. Vasi VParty here with you on this Friday afternoon. Don't forget, we'll be back 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. It's 6 o'clock out here on the West Coast. Big NFL weekend, college basketball in full swing with conference play. And, of course, the NBA, NHL still going strong. All right, let's get to the NFL here before we close out. We will hit some college basketball a little bit tonight. You see the ticker going underneath for the NFL. It'll be up in a second here. The NFL ticker, there you go. 2 games Saturday, a bunch on Sunday, actually all of them on Sunday, culminated by the night game between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. I thought the schedule makers did a disservice to the NFL fan base. Thought for sure that Green Bay and Detroit maybe could have played Saturday. Tennessee, Jacksonville could have played Sunday, since there were no other teams and ramifications with that game, or they could have found another game for Saturday night that had some impact. So you see the Lions going across. Let's talk about the game Saturday. Kansas City, 9-point favorite at Vegas. Jacksonville, 6.5 versus Tennessee. Kansas City looking for the number 1 seed with a win. Of course, we know what happened with Buffalo and Cincinnati and the Damar Hamlin story that went with it. By the way, in case you missed the update, he's 100% off a ventilator, breathing on his own, responding to commands, talking, and zoomed his team back in Buffalo as well, too. So great news. All right, so Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City still have a shot at number 1 seed, but they're going to have an uneven number of games. They're canceling it. It's wiped out. It's gone. Kansas City, a 9-point favorite at Vegas. They beat the Raiders by 3 the last time they played in Kansas City. In fact, the Raiders had a chance to win that game, 30-27 the final, 52.5 the total here. Kansas City wins. They get the 1 seed. Bottom line, that's it. Cincinnati will play Baltimore. They lost to Baltimore early in the year, and then the Buffalo Bills will host the New England Patriots. Boy, I do not want to be the Patriots going into New England this weekend with all the Damar Hamlin stories, the motivation that they have. In fact, they saw him today. That's just a tough sled for Bill Belichick and the Patriots to go into. They're a 7-point underdog right now at Buffalo, 43.5. But let's get back to the Jacksonville, Tennessee game tomorrow night. The Tennessee Titans were 7-3. They have lost 6 in a row. They are at 7-9. If they don't win this game tomorrow night, they're out of the playoffs completely. Never would have thought that would happen when they were 7-3. We thought that this was AFC South pretty much wrapped up. The Jacksonville Jaguars have won 4 in a row. They are, I just want to look at this here because I believe they started off at 1-6 also. They 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5, 2-6. They were 2-6. Okay, so I was off a little bit. They were 2-6, and now look at where they're at. 8-8, 6-2 since then, including last week's victory over the Houston Texans, 31-3. They dominated. Of course, they've beaten the Cowboys this year. They beat the Jets 3 Thursdays ago now, when they were an underdog at 2.5 points. The winner of this game, they thumped the Titans 36-22 in Tennessee. So if Jacksonville wins, they'll be 9-8, and they'll have won it outright. No need for tiebreakers there. But if Tennessee wins and they both end up 8-9, the tiebreaker edge goes to the Tennessee Titans because they have the better, I believe it's the division record as to which parameter they're looking at. Yes, if they beat Jacksonville, they'll be 4-2 in the division. Jacksonville will be 3-3, and that's the second tiebreaker after head-to-head, especially with teams within the same division. So it's a winner-take-all. 6.5-point favorite for Jacksonville. Tennessee is going to get Derrick Henry back. They are going to go with Joshua Dobbs. So that's going to be interesting to see what goes on with Jacksonville and Tennessee. So as we look to it right now, the Chiefs, if they lose to the Raiders, it sets in motion all sorts of contingencies for the 1 seed. We'll get to that. The AFC South winner, the winner-take-all between Jacksonville hosting Tennessee. Dobbs will start for the Titans. Jags have won 4 in a row. Titans have lost 6 in a row. Big game tomorrow night, 8:15 on ABC and ESPN. All right, we go back to the other games at hand. Sunday, Pittsburgh-Cleveland. Pittsburgh, a mathematical shot still in it, but they need both the Patriots and Miami to lose. Patriots are going to be at Buffalo. Miami playing with the Jets as well. That game is in the – do I have it up here? They don't know who the quarterback is. We don't have a line for the game yet, so it's not up yet. But the Jets and Miami are going to play. It's going to be Skylar Thompson going for the Miami Dolphins. Let me make sure about this. I'm trying to see here if I had seen this or not. But anyway, let's move on here while I look that up. Indianapolis, 2.5 versus Houston. Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. Atlanta's a 4-point favorite. They're going to play their starters, or the Buccaneers. They won the NFC South with that comeback win over Carolina. They are going to play their starters for the first half at least. So maybe a first half bet on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You probably get them a +2.5 if you're the first half betting type there. So let's see if we have a line on the Jets and Dolphins game before I say anything here. New Orleans, Carolina, that game doesn't mean anything. Again, this Buffalo story with DeMar Hamlin, they're going into a lit stadium. The fact that he's okay, it's got to pump him up. They Zoomed with each other today, him from Cincinnati, Hamlin from Cincinnati, and the Bills in their team offices. Going to be very interesting. And now here comes Bill Belichick trying to secure a playoff spot. They win, they're in. 43.5 the total in that game. Cincinnati, Baltimore. Cincinnati a 10-point favorite over the Ravens. No Lamar Jackson again. 39.5 the total. Minnesota 8 at Chicago. Justin Fields not starting. 43 for the total there as well. All right, couple more notes here, and then in the other games, Seattle and the Rams, huge game. They have to win to stay in. Do the Seahawks, and then they got to hope that Detroit beats Green Bay in order for Seattle to get in. Seattle has a tie-breaking edge over Detroit. Philadelphia is still playing for the 1 seed over the Giants. San Francisco still playing for the 1 seed, trying to hold off the 2 seed versus Arizona. Denver, 3-point favorite versus the Chargers. Justin Herbert and the Chargers are locked into the 6th seed as well. Dallas 7 at Washington. They've got a shot at the NFC East. They still got an outside shot at the number 1 seed. And, of course, Green Bay and Detroit playing for all the marbles. The Green Bay win. They're in. Detroit wins, and Seattle loses. The Lions get in for the 3rd time in the last 30 years. As you see the ticker go by, you see all the lines going by there. So that's what's going on in the NFL. Year to date for me, the NBA 2-1 yesterday, 11-2. NCAA back on track a little bit, 4-2, 8-14 overall. My first foray into the new year, into the NHL, 1-3 with a grand total of 26-24. Not where I want to be, but that's where we're at. All right, that's coming up at 6 Eastern, 3 o'clock on the West Coast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. My one pick for now, the NBA, Indiana Pacers, -1.5. They've got the Portland Trailblazers, but Indiana's very good at home. Ben Mathurin, if you haven't seen him play, comes off the bench for Indiana, rookie out of the University of Arizona. They've got guys that can score. Miles Turner. They've got Halliburton at guard. They've got guys that can score. They do give up a lot of points. The over/under in this game, I believe, was 236. But you got to think that that's going to be something to behold at Indiana at home. The rest of the picks, the rest of the best bet segment, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. All right, the BCS game Monday night. We'll talk about that on Monday as well too on our Monday show. College basketball. Let's give you some. One thing. Let's talk about the NFL owners voting on playoff scenarios because of the Bills-Bengals game being canceled. We'll go into detail more. Basically, if the Chiefs win, they're the number 1 seed. Baltimore beats Cincinnati. They'll coin flip for a wild card game. AFC Championship and coin flip will be on display if it's for Buffalo or Cincinnati or both are in the AFC Championship game as well too. So 26-24 going into today. I already gave you one pick. 26-24. I already gave you one pick. That's the Indiana Pacers tonight over the Portland Trailblazers, laying 1.5 at home. Don't forget to join us tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. A full NFL preview of the 2 games. NBA, big college basketball. We'll go through all the college basketball scenarios. Got about 11 conferences that I look at pretty much every day. Talk a little BCS championship, give you some news and notes there. Daily posts during the week are at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And then on the weekends by 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific before tip-offs and kickoffs go on Saturdays and Sundays for the weekends. Enjoy your Friday. Thanks to all the support on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Look forward to hearing from you. I really want to know how many people out there know CPR. Also want to know any questions that you have on any of these scenarios. What are you looking at wager-wise? Any comments that you have. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are your avenues to get at me at VPartySports or Vasu VadaParty. Thanks to everybody on this Friday. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, Saturday and Sunday. Talk to you soon. I'm Vasu VadaParty. Have a great day. This is the VPartySports Podcast.